Hey everyone, I'm Elfowls, and welcome back to the WCL. Last time in Week 1 I took a very close 2-0 victory against Steve Chuck and the Waterdeep Wobbuffets, and this time we're in Week 2 against Hitmonjon and the Close Combat Club. I've played John quite a few times at this point. I think overall we've been pretty even in our record, but I have a decent win streak going against him right now. I believe I've beat him in Seasons 10, 11, and 12 of the WCL. That said, I am kind of nervous about this matchup. He has a team here of Tornadus-T, Iron Treads, Terra Captain Annihilate, Alamamola, Brute Bonnet, Torcat, Hoopa, Enamorous Therian, Terra Captain Colossal, Meowstic, and Skuntank. And I'll just be upfront here, I did not like prepping for this matchup. We'll start up with the good stuff for me. Terra Regieleki looks pretty nice here, with a bunch of the big threats being weak to Electric on that side. And the only resists are actually Iron Treads and Brute Bonnet, which I feel like I could play around decently enough. I also have some decent ways to play around Annihilate, even if it is Terra. But other than that, my offense does not have a clear way to break through this team, and defensively, Enamorous doesn't really have safe switch-ins on my side, and Brute Bonnet is actually pretty annoying to swap into as well. And even if I say I have Annihilate answers, that thing with Terra can get out of control even when it's prepared for. As for the Terra type on it, my mind keeps jumping to Water, but I think that's just the most common type that Annihilate tends to run. It doesn't really make it that much sense into my team. You wouldn't really want a type that's weak to Regieleki, right? So I'm wondering maybe Ground, Grass, Electric, not too sure. So I had a tough time prepping the team for this week, but here's what I landed on. We're going to start the build with Farigiraf, and I spent a ton of time in the builder on this set. The most important thing about Farigiraf is that it is immune to Annihilate's Rage Fist and bulky enough to tank a Drain Punch, so it has a pretty decent matchup into the standard Ape set. From there, I went through so many different set possibilities to take advantage of it. The set I landed on before this was a boosting stored power set, but I changed it over to this more defensive set as I got closer to the match. What I really like about this is that Psychic Noise as my stab actually disables Drain Punch on top of canceling leftovers, so in theory, the standard bulk up Annihilate set can't touch me the turn after I use Psychic Noise. The investment allows me to 3-hit KO max special defense Annihilate with Psychic Noise, and the rest maximizes physical bulk so I can tank Drain Punches. The rest of the set is Dazzling Gleam, Wish, and Baton Pass. Dazzling Gleam just so I'm not a sitting duck against Brute Bonnet. Wish to stay healthy so I can swap into Annihilate more often, and a Baton Pass to pivot me out since I'm about 95% sure Annihilate will switch after John realizes I'm physically defensive Psychic Noise. Cudshoe and a Citrus Berry gives me an HP buffer so I'm less pressured to actually click Wish, and Terra Grass is not something I'm at all planning to click, but in theory it gives me a physically defensive Grass type to check Brute Bonnet. This is overall a very specific set. If Annihilate is anything other than the bulk up to attack set, we run into some trouble against it, but come on, you want to run special defensive bulk up into me, right? That's such a good Regieleki and Greninja check, you'd think that's an auto bring. So I hope Farigiraf can just kind of shut that down. Alright, so next up, we of course have the Regieleki. Once again, nothing too crazy, we just have to look at the electric resists and figure out the Terra type. Iron Treads and Brute Bonnet are the only resists, and they're both weak to fighting, so that's what we're going to go with. I guess they're both weak to fire as well, but I like fighting more since I won't be weak to Iron Tread's Earthquake, and I will also resist Brute Bonnet's Sucker Punch. From there, Volt Switch and Thunderbolt are pretty standard. Regieleki is a huge threat to all of Tornadus, Enamorous, and Alamola. And in the last slot, I'm going with Reflect, supplemented by a Light Clay to help the whole team tank physical hits a little better. This is especially nice if I'm in against Annihilate. I can set up Reflect to give Farigiraf an even better matchup into it. But yeah, this is pretty standard Terra Regieleki. We outspeed +1 Iron Treads and hit everything really hard while pivoting around. Guys, this Mono Terra is broken, so yeah, good pressure piece. Next up, I already have Farigiraf to pivot into Annihilate, so I need something that can switch in a little bit on the special attackers. That's why I'm running Tinkaton, which is my first response to Tornadus, Enamorous, and Hoopa. And also kind of Brute Bonnet. We have a lot of pressure on Tinkaton this game. The threat I'm by far the most afraid of is Enamorous, so a lot of the set is dedicated to that. Gigaton Hammer takes a huge chunk out of that thing, and Encore locks it down if it's a Calm Mind setup set. And of course, Knock Off and Stealth Rock are bread and butter utility moves to take advantage of free turns. I have enough speed to outrun Timid Hoopa and Adamant Annihilate, meaning I can lock either of those two into setup moves with Encore, should the situation call for it. The rest of the EVs are going towards Special Bulk, helped out by a Citrus Berry and Farigiraf's Wish, so we can continue being a good blanket check in the matchup. And also, if the Citrus Berry is used up, we can use Pickpocket to steal an item. Maybe grab Tornadus' boots as it U-turns out, or something like that. I'll have to hope that this set is enough to check all the things it's meant to check, but regardless, I think it should help take a lot of pressure off of my offensive pieces. We're still building defensive because I do need a good switch into Iron Treads, so we're going to see the debut of Dawnfan with a physically defensive set to help out. We don't take much from Treads, even if it's Ice Spinner, and Earthquake hits it pretty darn hard in return. Knockoff is my only other straight up attack to hit the Earthquake switch-ins, with Rapid Spin clearing rocks and Encore locking Annihilate and Enamorus into their setup. Yeah, I'm really concerned about those two. I could have run some kind of coverage to hit the Earthquake resist instead of just Knockoff, but I'd rather take the utility. Without investment, my coverage really doesn't hit that hard, so I didn't see the point. This is a pretty basic set. Moving on. Up next, we have Greninja running a Protean Choice Spec set for the immediate damage output. We need near max speed to outrun Tornadus with max special attack. Surf and Ice Beam cover most of the matchup neutrally, with Dark Pulse covering Alomomola as well as being quad effective into that specially bulky Hoopa. With these three moves, we threaten huge damage into just about everything except for a bulky Annihilate, and in the late game, depending on what's left standing, Greninja could actually end up just spamming one of these moves to clean up since it outspeeds my opponent's entire team naturally. Finally, U-turn is a natural state for pivoting, but it's also a really nice way to safely take a chunk out of Brute Bonnet if it's out of Ice Beam range. And here, last but not least, we have Salamence rocking a Dragon Dance set, with the highlight being that Intimidate Mirror Herb combo, meant to revenge Annihilate by copying its +2 attack boost from Defiant. That is a one-time boost, and the tech is a bit weaker if Annihilate has a Bolt Up or 2, so it can eat a +2 Mence hit, but under the right circumstances, Salamence can become a crazy breaker by taking advantage of that Annihilate. We of course do outspeed the Annihilate with max attack and the rest in HP. Dual Wing Beat is my stab move of choice. It hits Annihilate super effectively before Terra, as well as the Brute Bonnet. Earthquake covers Iron Treads and Colossal, and Iron Head is there to punish Enamorus and Terra Fairy Annihilate. We'll have to see how far this set can go, but I am at least excited to pull off the tech. That's going to be the team going into week 2. It's more of a pivoting focus with blanket defensive checks taking hits for my offense, so we'll have to see if they can pull their weight so Regieleki and Greninja can go to town. We're ready to go. Let's get right into the battle. Alright, here we are. So the big surprise here is no Enamorus, and instead there's Meowstic, which implies a dual screen strategy to help out that Annihilate. That Annihilate is Terra Electric, which actually makes a lot of sense as a way to absorb hits from Regieleki. That does strongly imply the Spadef Bulk Up set to tank Regieleki hits even better, so I think that gives me confidence that Farigiraf can successfully take it on. For my lead, I think Meowstic is decently likely to set screens early, so that kind of pushes me towards using Tinkaton. I can just kind of sit in front of Meowstic and get my rocks up and just kind of spam knockoff from there. That's actually the case for a lot of the potential lead matchups, just not Iron Treads, so I hope I don't see that. So I'm going to lock in Tinkaton. Good luck, have fun to Hitmonjon. It is the Meowstic lead, so that works out. Screens are probably going up, and I can't break them, but I can at least limit the turns by going for a knockoff. Reflect is going to go up, and knockoff takes out the Mental Herb, not the Light Clay I was expecting. Next turn, of course, the light screen is going to go up, and I will just get my rocks going from there. I really don't have much left to do in this matchup, but I figured I might as well spam knockoff until there's a reason not to. Get damage into the Meowstic, you know? The reason not to is going to come right in, though. It's going to be that Iron Tread switch in, and it has booster energy speed, so knockoff won't be doing much of anything. That's not a bad turn, honestly. Tread's using up the booster now means that it cannot revenge KO Greninja later. My 100% check to this, though, is Dawnfan, so I'll just come in on, of course, the Rapid Spin, clear away those rocks. That was kind of expected. At this point, I could try to read the switch with a knockoff or something, but I think I'll just hit what's in front of me. If he switches out, I kind of still consider that a win, since I did force the Treads out of its booster in that case. That's going to pay off here because I just get hit by an Ice Spinner, not too much damage, and Earthquake does a nice chunk back. Reflect is going to go down 2, which means that the next one will KO. And yeah, this switch to Tornadus was pretty obvious. I probably should have read that. Tinkaton is, of course, the Tornadus check, so we're just going to come right in and actually just dodge the Hurricane. A bit of a lucky break, but obviously I think I would have been okay with taking that hit. Tornadus could stay in here and go for a big Heat Wave, but that would also risk taking a knockoff or something like a Thunder Wave from my side. So I'm decently confident there's a switch coming here, and I am correct. Meowstic comes in, and my rocks go back up. Seeing the Meowstic again is pretty annoying, but I actually have a pretty good way to limit it to one screen and force it out. As that Reflect goes up, I'm going to Encore, which is exactly the thing John was trying to prevent with that Mental Herb. With that Encore lock in place, there's a switch happening for sure, and the only thing I see that's comfortable taking a knockoff is that Iron Shreds, so that gives me a nice idea. It's Regieleki time, and as that Iron Shreds does come in, you already know, Terra Fighting, Terra Blast, and all of a sudden we're up to a 6-5 game. I could have tried to double into Greninja instead of Regieleki for this KO, but that's actually a little tougher with the Specs lock and 2 bulkier water resists on my opponent's side. Regieleki here did have to reveal, or not reveal, but just go for his Terra, but it does put a lot more pressure on any switch in. The revenge here is going to be that Annihilate, which does make sense. This could definitely start setting up here as it goes for Terra Electric. So before I go for Farigiraf, I am going to get up that quick little Reflect, as the Annihilate does go for Bulk Up. That's potentially scary, but the nice thing about my Annihilate game plan is that I don't care at all about giving it Rage Fist boost since Farigiraf is immune. If everything goes according to plan, it should never be able to click that move for any damage. So, Volt Switch away for that chip. That's actually decent damage. Go into Farigiraf and we tank the Drain Punch, no problem. I'm a little surprised there wasn't a Terra Electric on that turn, but I will certainly take the extra chip. The damage there implies that this isn't really a Super Spadef set, it's closer to just max HP. That's good to know. But regardless, it is time to enact the plan. Annihilate here, feels like setting up. It'll Terra Electric and Bulk Up this turn, and I'll just go ahead and click that Psychic Noise, which still doesn't have its own unique showdown animation. We'll get there eventually, guys, I'm sure. But we're going to bring the Annihilate down to just over half and keep it there. No leftovers for you. So if I'm correct in my assumptions, my opponent is looking at his screen right now and seeing 0 options to touch Farigiraf. So a switch out here would make a lot of sense. Let's see if I can catch that with a Baton Pass. Yes, we forced it out. There's a swap to Root Bonnet, and my Baton Pass goes off. Wasn't quite sure into what. I really didn't have an easy way to take this thing down from full health. Salamence could have probably KO'd with Dual Wing Beat, but that invites in the Alomola. Regieleki probably doesn't KO from this range and falls to Spore. So my best option here, of course, landed on Greninja. Thought about Ice Beaming, but if it is Assault Vest, which I'm not ruling out, it will tank the hit and potentially KO me back with a close combat. So the safer play is just to make progress with a U-turn. Even with a timid nature, the protein boosted U-turn does a nice 60%, and I will try to get Tinkaton in here, but of course I do get Spored. Yeah, if something had to take that, I'm okay with it being Tinkaton, since we are bulky enough to try and wake up later. I do feel pretty safe burning a Sleep turn right now, but that unfortunately lets in the Alomola for free, and it does show that it's actually heavy-duty boots. I know it's coming here, but I will at least threaten with Greninja. On that free turn, of course, Alomola is safe to get up that Wish. On the bright side, having Greninja in ensures that there is not a free switch to Annihilate, since after Rocks I should be KOing it from this range. That is going to force Alomola to stay in and tank this Dark Pulse. It does about half, implying some Spadef, but no flinch means that it can just flip turn out and pass that Wish right to Annihilate. That's a little unfortunate, but I still don't have any problem just switching back to Farigiraf on this. We're going to see a Bulk Up on the switch, and then the Reflect going down for me does mean that this Drain Punch here is going to sting a little more, but at least my Psychic Noise does crit for good measure, and the Ape is going to be crippled again. Forced out, it's going to swap to Meowstic, as I took that turn to set up a Wish. Looking at this matchup though, I don't really care to stay in and heal up Farigiraf. I'd rather try to take advantage of the screen setup another way, and even without healing, Farigiraf still has that Citrus Berry for the next time we need to tank on Annihilate. So as the Meowstic goes for this Reflect, I Baton Pass out into Tinkaton. we're going to be burned through sleep turns here. So we're going to see actually just the Tornadus come in, and it takes rocks damage. I do get the lucky 1-turn wake up, and my knockoff gets rid of the choice specs. That is a scary set. So I guess the main flaw with my Tinkaton here is that I'm in against the thing I'm supposed to check. I don't have too much to do now that I'm actually in the matchup. I guess I can Gigaton in case Torn decides to stay in and get damage. Sure, I mean, that's fine. But Torn is just going to U-turn out to Alomomola to take just about nothing from that. And with a free turn in with Alomomola, we already know a Wishing is coming out. What do I have that can take advantage of that? Regieleki is going to be a direct threat to Alomomola, and we can set up Volt Switch on the likely pivot to Annihilate. So let's try that. Into Regieleki on the Wish, and that is going to be a switch out to Meowstic. I actually decided to go for Reflect here just because I anticipated that Annihilate. Make sure that Farigiraf can take hits from it better. But yeah, Meowstic, weird. I might as well get out of here. Thought about direct switching because Thunder Wave is a risk and that would ruin Regieleki's day, but I think I'm okay risking it for the chip with Volt Switch. I think a Light Screen is way more likely to come out here anyway. It's a Yawn actually, and I can just pivot right out of that for free. Into Greninja, I am heavily rewarded for that play, not even intentionally, but hey, works out. Did bring in the Greninja here. I could claim the KO with a Dark Pulse at this point, but I think John knows that I'm a Specs, and I don't quite want to be locked in just yet, especially because Meowstic is super likely to set a Light Screen. So I'm just going to bounce around a little bit here. Out with U-turn to hit on the physical side as it sets up that Light Screen. And then back into Regieleki, we are just going to Volt Switch on the Reflect to KO that Meowstic. And now I'm just going to come right back in with Greninja. This essentially creates the same situation that I would have had by KOing the Meowstic, just with the Dark Pulse, but Greninja is not yet locked into a move, which is important. But I don't know how important that actually is because Tornadus is going to come in. I suppose I am just going to have to pivot out of here anyway. Specs Ice Beam should 2-hit KO through Light Screen, but I don't really feel like taking the follow-up Hurricane. No, instead I'm just going to U-turn out. And that is going to be into the Tinkaton, who takes this Hurricane, no problem. With this matchup happening again, I guess I will just Gigaton again as the Torn goes for Nasty Plot. So, Specs Nasty Plot, huh? I mean, I guess it did work. I think at this point I do need to sack something. I'm in a position where I'm pretty comfortable with that, especially because with Iron Treads gone, I don't have too much use for Dawnfan anymore. So we're going to switch Dawnfan in as the Noble Sack. And Heat Wave just straight up OHKOs, that's kind of crazy. So we're down to a 5-4 game, but with the chip from Tinkaton and Light Screen going down on this turn, Greninja is a very easy follow-up. And at this point, Dark Pulse claims something, and that something is going to be the Tornadus. It's a 5-3 game now, with Annihilate coming in as their revenge. And with the lack of Spadef investment that I noted earlier on this, I think Dark Pulse could KO this and then probably sweep. So let's just try it from there. Maybe Greninja cleans this up. We don't get the roll, and no flinch means that Drain Punch is an easy KO back. Couldn't be that easy, huh? With post-battle knowledge, that was about a 43% chance to KO. And regardless, it's really not a big deal, because now I can take advantage of the Annihilate in another way by revenging with Salamence. Intimidate, Defiant, and there's our Mirror Herb. Let's pull off a Immense Sweep here. Earthquake is going to be a very easy KO onto Annihilate. Didn't even need the Mirror Herb for that. And we're wrapping up the game up here. Alomomola is bulky, but this is a +2 Salamence. Come on, I think Dual Wind can 2-shot here. But of course, we miss. And that allows it to go for Scald from full health, and it burns. Okay, fine. I guess I will finish this game off with Regieleki. I'm not threatened here. I'm just going to switch in very easily on this next Scald. And from here, it's only going to be a matter of time until Thunderbolt KOs this thing. Protects for a turn. Yeah, whatever. Actually survives the first one. That's crazy. But this Scald doesn't do too much, doesn't burn, so we're free to Thunderbolt away. And because we resist Sucker Punch from Root Bonnet, we can tank that and claim a Terra Blast KO, and we take the game 4-0 in week 2. So yeah, the game went pretty well for me. There's not going to be too much to talk about, if we're being honest. The offense was pretty straightforward. I really liked, though, how the defense core came together. Donphan stifling Iron Treads early, Tinkaton walling up on Tornadus, and of course, can't forget about that Farigiraf completely stuffing out the Annihilate with a set that I'm really happy about. That's one of my favorite sets I built in recent memory. I'm also really happy about my play. I felt like I was in control more or less the whole time. Maybe there were a few plays I could have made to save Greninja in the endgame, as well as a few reads that maybe would have saved HP early on. Could have saved a few differential points maybe, but I don't think that's really worth playing to. I will certainly take the safe 4-0 win against a historically solid coach. But yeah, with all of that said, GG to John. This was a really fun one. I'm now at +6 with a 2-0 +6 differential for the season. So not too bad. Next time I am up against AJ and the Chicago Clods for week 3, so join me for that one. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.